The Watership Down podcast is intended for listeners who are familiar with the plot. There will be spoilers. This episode is scripted, recorded, edited and narrated by Newell Fisher. Hello, and welcome to the Watership Down podcast episode 159, which is being partly recorded at the beautiful Sheffield Park in Sussex, England, on a sunny spring day, where the first primroses are beginning to bloom. In this episode we'll be looking at Season 3, Episode 7 of the TV series and Episode 33 of the series overall, The Dark Deal. First though, last week I referred to Fiver getting inside Woundwart's head for the first time, which results in Woundwart realising that Fiver is the true danger to his ambitions. Yet Woundwart seems to have forgotten Episode 5 of Season 1, in which Fiver named Woundwart's birthplace, profoundly shocking him. Should he not have realised the truly dangerous nature of this small rabbit at that point? Yet in his shock he lets him go, and thereafter mostly focuses his hatred on Hazel. It seems a bit inconsistent. I've seen a new review on Apple Podcasts posted on the 3rd of March, which I cannot resist reading out. It was written by a listener with the handle Specially Terrestrian. Quote, "Having recently read Watership Down for the first time, I was looking for some insightful commentary and discussion of the themes and world of the story. I feel very lucky to have stumbled across this podcast, as it fits the bill perfectly. The presentation style is clear, thoughtful and considerate, which is very appropriate to the subject matter. Highly recommended." End quote. I just wanted to say thank you so much for those kind words. It is reviews like this that remind me that the time I put into this endeavour is time well spent. Anyway, time to strap into your narrative hoodoo, because a lot is about to happen. TV series Season 3, Episode 7, The Dark Deal. The 33rd episode of the Watership Down TV series was first broadcast in Canada on the 23rd of October 2001. It was written by Mary Crawford and Alan Templeton, and its German title was Redstone Falls, which was another very spoilerish title. There will be a link to the episode in the notes. Marigold is sleeping under an overhanging rock near Redstone Warren following her escape from Woundwart last week. We can see a line of human-made posts crossing where she is. Suddenly she is woken by the sound of an approaching bulldozer. Leaping clear and hiding in woodland, she watches in horror as it bulldozes a path along the line of posts right through where she had been sleeping. On Watership Down, Hannah the Mouse and Blackberry are talking about the just-departed Kihar. Hannah is putting on a brave face, making out she doesn't miss him. Blackberry says she can't say the same about Campion, who they now know is still alive. Hannah points out that it is an improvement on what they thought before. And now we see the Watership Down Owsler in training, as Strawberry and Hawkbit practice combat while the others look on. The comedy Owsler is now a thing of the past, since it became clear that Woundwart is still alive, and Bigwicked has noticed that Hawkbit is underperforming. Strawberry, on the other hand, is long past his early days on Watership Down in Season 1. He is now an effective fighter. At Redstone Warren, Vervain watches worried as a man knocks a line of posts into the ground that directly pass the Warren. Woundwart corrects his assertion that they had got rid of humans as well as his use of their real names. He is to call him Wheatstock. A redstone rabbit comes above ground to ask permission to seal flay, but when Hickory is one of those to emerge, Vervain tells him he is detained. Woundwart steps in, feigning sympathy for Hickory, who thinks his mate Marigold is dead, but Hickory unleashes his anger at Woundwart, even making him step back a few paces, before Woundwart strikes him hard, causing him to tumble down the nearest run. Woundwart orders everyone below ground. No one will eat until they learn to appreciate what he has done for them. Woundwart tells Vervain he was growing tired of courting popularity anyway. He decides to investigate what the humans are up to, hoping the sticks mean what he thinks they do. And now we are with Campion again. Something is about to happen that will change everything. He hears a noise, and looking around sees a group of large rabbits that we have not encountered before. Some of them have a single feather dangling from one of their ears. and they all have Australian accents, though I'll leave it up to Australian listeners to tell me how good their accents are. These aggressive rabbits manage to subdue Campion, and one of them is about to deliver a killing blow when he is stopped by a doe. She addresses the rabbit who was about to kill Campion as Shale, a strange stone-based name for a rabbit in the world of Watership Down. She says Campion has a fighting spirit. He might do well in the battle pit. Woundwort and Vervain follow the line of human posts until it leads them to a farm. Suddenly a bulldozer is upon them, and they have to dodge out of the way as it enters a wood, destroying everything in its path, including trees. There are humans and machines everywhere. Woundwort realises that they are making a new trail for their hoodadoos. He also realises that it will go straight through Redstone Warren, and that the machines will arrive there by sunset on the following day. Vervain is horrified, but Woundwort says this is perfect. He says they must visit Cowslip at the Warren of the Shining Wires. On Watership Down, Fiver emerges above ground and is immediately struck by a vision in which Hawkbit is running away from a huge moving pile of earth that buries him. As soon as the others check he is okay, Marigold suddenly arrives on the down, begging for help, saying that Woundwort is at Redstone and they are all in danger. In last week's episode, having only heard Vervain's actual name, she told Woundwort that she now knew who he was. Presumably, Vervain's name was enough information. We now see what looks like a working human quarry. The rabbits who captured Campion arrive there with him. One of them tells Campion to take a last look at the world. He won't leave Darkhaven alive. We have heard of Darkhaven before. In episode 5 of season 1, Fiver had a vision of the death of Woundwort's mother in which he said, "Darkhaven is destroyed." This vision shocked Woundwort so profoundly that he let Hazel and Fiver escape from Ephrata just as they were about to be executed. It has not been mentioned since, until now. Campion is led by his captors down rocky paths into the industrial wasteland that lies at the base of the quarry. In an arena made up of old hoodadoos and piled-up tyres, a large crowd of similar rabbits are chanting the word war as Campion is led into the centre of the arena. This terrible place is as far from anything Richard Adams wrote about in his original novel as anything we have yet seen. It is arguably more Mad Max than Watership Down, but it also seems to be a warren made of stone. Slight echoes of the warren of the Black Rabbit of Inlay, perhaps? Woundwort and Vervain have arrived at the Warren of the Shining Wires. Vervain is not happy, and Woundwort has to remind him why they are here. They find Cowslip waiting for them. Beside him is Silverweed, who we last saw portrayed for the first time on film in Season 1, Episode 3. Regrettably, Cowslip's voice is no longer that of Stephen Fry, though he is still just as creepy, talking of the eternal peace offered by his warren. He also has absolutely no fear of Woundwort. Woundwort gets to the point. He wishes to use the services of the mystic Silverweed in exchange for offering Cowslip revenge against Redstone Warren. Cowslip is interested. He uses the archaic English word mise, originating from a French word, seemingly to refer to their potential agreement, another strange use of language in an animation aimed at children. On Watership Down, under a full moon, Hawkbit is arguing about Bigwig's decision not to let him come along on their expedition to Redstone. He thinks this is because he didn't do well in fighting exercises. The actual reason is Fiver's most recent vision. Strawberry is charged with keeping him on the down, which he is immediately forced to do by pinning him down as the scouting party leaves. At Redstone, a rabbit called Flax has a word with Hickory in the burrow he is confined in. Some of the rabbits want Hickory back as chief, though most support Wheatstock. When Hickory says it is strange how they support Wheatstock even though he has taken away their freedom, Flax reminds him that he suggested him as leader. Hickory expresses regret for not listening to Marigold. Flax says they have traded freedom for security. Hickory promises they will find a way out of this. At Darkhaven, the doe who helped capture Campion looks on as two bucks fight over a game of bobstones. She then goes to tell Campion what is going to happen to him. The two guards laugh. Campion is held in a stone burrow with a metal grid in the roof through which he can see the sky. The doe tells him he will fight for his life in the battle pit. Campion is unconcerned. He says his life is no longer his own. The Doe says it's up to him to choose who he fights, and if he defeats them, he will take their position. Campion says there must be a lot of fighting in Darkhaven. The Doe replies that's all they do here. It's how they prepare for the coming of the Dark One. As she leaves, she suggests he pick a low-ranked warrior to fight. That way he might survive. And now we are below ground at the Warren of the Shining Wires, where a kind of religious ritual is taking place. Silverweed recites one of his death poems as the rabbit congregation rocks to and fro with their eyes closed. At the end of the poem, Cowslip leads the chanting of Huzzah, an old English variant of hurrah, but its chanting is flat and without emotion. Vervain is disturbed by it all, but Woundwort gets down to business. He tells Cowslip that Marigold is already dead, which Cowslip says is sad and sweet, but that Redstone Warren will be destroyed. Cowslip insists he must witness its destruction as the price for giving Woundwort Silverweed. Silverweed looks shocked. Woundwort suggests they leave straight away, as Redstone's destruction is imminent. As they leave, they pass through ranks of silently swaying rabbits, seemingly hypnotised by the cult of the Shining Wires. Vervain is glad to be going. As the expedition from Warship Down crosses a lock gate at the canal, Fiver has another vision that almost causes him to fall in. Quote, "Man comes in without a care. He does not see the warren there. Beneath the earth they cannot hide, for man can push the earth aside." End quote. As he finishes, we see rabbits fleeing into Redstone Warren as the bulldozer arrives. Marigold points out that Woundwort said he would destroy Redstone, but Hazel says it is impossible, that he is using humans to do so. Bigwig says Fiver is just having a flashback to the destruction of Sandalford, but Fiver wasn't there when it was destroyed, and he is adamant he has seen the imminent destruction of Redstone. On Warship Down, Strawberry foils another attempt by Hawkbit to leave. He is enjoying it now. Hawkbit asks how he got so strong. By helping with the digging, is the reply. Hawkbit decides to give it a go. At Darkhaven, Campion is led into the battle pit and introduced by the Doe. We see him in a rotating shot around him, which is a step up for the animation style. He is told to choose his opponent, and going against her advice, he chooses the current chief, asking who leads this pack of howling fools as the assembled crowd chants war. As a huge rabbit steps forward, the Doe quietly advises Campion that he was wounded in the right shoulder. Campion thanks her, calling her Spartina. It seems Does here still have plant-based names. She says the chief will kill him anyway. And so the fight begins. It is a dirty fight, which culminates in the chief throwing dust in Campion's eyes. The chief gets Campion in a death grip and bites his mutilated ear. Campion hooks his mouth with a claw and throws him hard into a pile of barrels, one of which falls and lands on him hard, seemingly crushing him. Campion declares himself chief, but a warrior called Shale objects, saying this has never happened before. Spartina says the rules of the battle pit are clear. One fights one. Slight echoes of Mad Max beyond Thunderdome, perhaps? Campion says he will fight them all one by one. Shale and his sidekick Felspar back down. For now. As Campion leaves with Spartina, we hear the ex-chief moaning from under the barrel, asking what happened. It seems he has survived. As Woundwort, Vervain, Cowslip and Silverweed arrive at Redstone, Woundwort reveals how it will be destroyed. In front of them is a large collection of human crudido construction machines, with people having discussions. At the order of a human with a light Liverpool accent slightly reminiscent of the Beatles, a large bulldozer starts and heads straight towards Redstone Warren. Vervain asks if they should at least warn them. They are fellow rabbits after all. Where did Vervain suddenly discover a sense of decency? But Woundwort says they are just stepping stones on his path to destiny. Vervain says he forgot that, sarcastically. The bulldozer closes in on Redstone. Underground, the earth begins to shake, and there is general panic. Fax tells Hickory the walls will hold. Hickory insists this is bad. Marigold tried to warn him. At that moment, the walls of Hickory's burrow collapse, leaving him trapped. The expedition from Warship Down has arrived, and they look on from cover as Redstone is destroyed. Hazel orders Fiver, Dandelion, Blackberry and Marigold to high ground to be ready to lead the rabbits of Redstone away from what he calls this madness. Hazel and Bigwig make for the warren. Entering a run just in front of a bulldozer, they find Flax trying to dig Hickory out. They don't have much time. Woundwort and his companions look on from nearby. Silverweed begs them to help the warren. Woundwort, laughing, says maybe he will if Silverweed looks into his future. He offers his paw for Silverweed to touch. As he does so, Silverweed's face looks terrified as he says, quote, "The path turns back to the place whence you came. Where your evil was born, they still speak your name." End quote. We see Woundwort seemingly in the middle of the battle pit at Darkhaven in another rotating shot as assembled rabbits chant Dark One. Then we see Woundwort's red eye open wide in close-up as he emotionally repeats, "The place whence I came, then home, Darkhaven." Cowslip has seen enough. He says he will miss Silverweed's mellifluous voice, but he is Woundwort's now. Strangely, he doesn't pick up on the fact that Woundwort has just shown him an event that was going to happen anyway. This wasn't actually Woundwort's doing, though he could have warned Redstone, I suppose, and didn't. Silverweed tries pointing out that Woundwort just said he would help the rabbits, but Woundwort is leaving. Vervain looks on, his eyes wide, his thoughts unclear. Underground in Redstone, Hazel has managed to free Hickory. They make a run for it, as the bulldozer finally flattens the warren. Finding a crowd of scared rabbits on their way out, Bigwig orders them to run. They all emerge from a hole nearby in the bank of a small stream. Hickory, to his delight, sees Marigold alive. As they look on from the high ground, Marigold asks why humans would do this. Hickory says it doesn't matter, they are all alive. A stream of Redstone rabbits on a very short animated loop run past, away from their destroyed warren. Bigwig comments to Hazel that their warren is about to get a little bigger. Hazel agrees, and as the bulldozer continues its path of destruction, they all set off home to Watership Down. Is it canon? As I've said before, we are now getting just about as far from the original story of Watership Down as we will get. This episode, which is the only one that features 4 warrens, is the beginning of the end of the Watership Down TV series, as we begin to build towards a finale that will be exciting, unpredictable, and also in many ways absurd, reminding us that at the end of the day this is definitely an animation aimed at children, albeit one that is quite edgy at times. The one slightly canonical element in this episode is the portrayal of the destruction of a warren by humans, which echoes the destruction of Sandalford, which was never shown in this series. Indeed, Bigwig explicitly refers to Sandalford, assuming that Fiver's vision of the destruction of Redstone is some kind of trauma response. Overall, though, obviously not canon. At this point, it is best to completely abandon the originalist approach and just sit back and enjoy the ride. Next time, Woundwort returns to Darkhaven, and Hannah visits a hedge wizard.